Hi, welcome back. So we've talked about the idea of these labels. So month, unit sales, average price, sales dollar. These are labels that will give us some meaning to the numbers. The numbers are values. Values they default to hug the right-hand side. So notice they're hugging the right-hand side. Well, think about when you learned how to add up a number of numbers when you were back in elementary school. It was easier if you had the ones position, the tens, the hundreds position. So the default for values is to have them go to the right side, and you don't have to do anything. It's just the default. We can change that, but for now we're going to go just fine with that. We did not add any commas in here. We did not add any dollar signs. We don't add any of the symbols. Now we have to be careful about transposition or just data integrity, that we've entered our numbers correctly, because it is very easy to make changes or make transpositions or oops on your numbers. For example, if instead of 1249, if I had typed in 1299, how do I edit that? Well, a couple of different ways. You can point to the cell in question, double click, and notice that when you double click, your insertion point is blinking, and you could change it from 1249 to 11249. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to undo because I don't like to have it wrong. The other way that I can do it is I can come up to my formula bar and I can enter it in here, and I could hit enter. And again, notice that as I make this change, my sales dollar is changing because my average price is changing. I'm going to undo back to the 1249. Another way that we can do this is if you click on the F2 button, the function 2 button. So not F then 2, but up at the top of your keyboard to the right of the escape key, you'll see F1, F2, F3. If you click F2, it will take you into an edit mode, and you can move your mouse around, or you can move your arrow keys around to get to wherever it is that you want to go. And I can hit enter, and I could hit enter, or I could hit this button on my formula bar, which is a check, which means enter. So I have a number of different ways that I can put that in. I'm going to undo that here now. We did talk about adjusting our column width, but we have another thing that we can do, which is if we select our row, we have the same options here. We can do a row height. We can modify our row height to be something bigger, so 25 for example, and I can change it, or I'll undo. I also have the option of hiding the row if I so choose, and I also have the option of unhiding the row height. I could delete it. Now I've deleted my heading, which had my labels, so now I'm not really certain what these values all stand for. So you do want to have them in, but the point is you have the ability to hide columns, hide rows, unhide them. Now one other area that we didn't talk about, which we can do, is let's say we want to insert a new row. So if I want to insert a new row 2, I want to sit on row 2, and I can right click and I have the option insert. Because sometimes we like to have a space on the rows, not so much on the columns. We don't really want to have any blank columns, but we could have just to facilitate reading. So I could do it by right clicking and doing an insert. Another way that I could do it is sitting on row 2. So how do I select or sit on row 2? I point to the 2, my arrow is horizontal pointing to the right, and if I left mouse click, and I have the option also on my home menu line for cells, insert, and I could insert a sheet row. So a couple of different ways that we could do that. I think I don't really want it there right now, but I wanted to show you how that could be. Now, we did cover this in a prior class where I could type in January, the complete word, or I could type in just JAN, and then if I go and I select that cell where I typed in January and arrow down using my skinny crosshair, I have that option where it will autofill. Now in this particular case, it autofilled nicely, but I only typed in Jan. So January. Now because I oopsed and I meant to have the complete name, I have to go back and I have to autofill. It doesn't automatically just understand that, oh yeah, this is I think what you wanted. So we have those autofill options, and there is a content section specifically related to autofill. So we won't cover that anymore here. Now, in cell A15, I want to write total sales. And what's nice here is we have a number of different ways that we can do this. I'm going to make my column for month a wee bit bigger so that it fits nicely. My total sales, I can come up and I can click on auto sum, and I like auto sum because it just makes life easier for me. I hit enter. So I want to know how many sales, how many units did I purchase. That becomes important. Average price, average is average. Even if it said price, it really wouldn't make a big deal. So I'm not going to do anything with that. But sales dollars, I would do the same thing, auto sum. So what I have now is I have something nicely set up that makes sense to me, that the only thing now that I don't have is that the formatting. It doesn't look so hot here with the formatting. So how would I change my formatting? Well, I would select my unit sales and I'd add a comma to it. But I don't want decimal positions because I'm not selling a part of a unit. And here I want my sales dollars. So I'm going to click on accounting number format, just on the home menu, the number section, the dollar sign. Now notice here the dollar sign is hugging the left hand side. That works fine, but maybe I want it to, if you think of writing checks, you might want the dollar sign right against the number. Let me show you how you can modify that slightly. So in my home menu, in my accounting, where it says accounting, click on the drop down, and we have something here called currency. Notice if you select currency, it hugs right against the number. Now if you don't want it that way and you want to go back, you can just change it back to, again, you have to be sitting on the cells, and you would change it from currency back to accounting format. If you have something else that you'd rather do, go into more number formats, and we have currency and we have accounting. So we have all sorts of interesting ways. We'll look more into this later on in the course, but we have options in here that we can deal with. Okay, so next piece I think that we haven't done that we probably should consider is just the idea that we did not save this file, and we probably should do a file save on it. So I'm going to cancel out of here, and before I save, I want to go and take a quick peek at what it would look like if I did a file print. Even though we're green and we're not going to be printing a lot, it's like, okay, I like the looks of this. Maybe I want to give it one more little thing though here with the formatting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight or select my entire, well, I think I'll just select without the totals, or I could select with the totals. I'll select with the totals, and I can format as a table. So from the home menu, select format as table, and I have all of these options of what I could do. Perhaps I want it to look like this. Where's the data for your table? I like to highlight it first. So equal $A, $2, colon, $D, $15. We'll talk about those dollar signs later. And my table has headers, and I click OK. So that's really nice that I now have it set up as a table. Now these little buttons here we'll talk about in a future course content, but for now you'll notice when we go to file print, they're not going to show up in the print. But it gives it a little bit of a better look. And one last piece to mention is, because it's not centered and maybe I want to have it be centered, go to page setup. I like portrait, and if I go to margins, I can have it centered horizontally or vertically. Now vertically, it's going to center it smack dab in the middle of the page. Maybe I do want that, maybe I don't. That moves it down. Yeah, I don't really think I want it vertically, but I do want it horizontally. So I will remove the checkbox for vertical, and I will just leave it as horizontal. And that gives it a nice look. Okay, so File, Save As, and save this where you're keeping your files. And what I would do is I would say monthly sales, and I'm going to tag it to the chapter that we're in. So I'll start with chapter 1.2, File, Save As, and I will save it to where I save my files. So bear with me for a second so I can get there. And I have classwork. And I'm going to call this chapter 1.2 and sales by month, so that I have it to reference. Thank you.